We next have to find ways of then bringing all of those together. And we do that through a whole range of other activities, having corporate alliances, relationships with business at different levels that I'll go into more detail with subsequently. But those are at the core of the relationship. So we're trying to bring business into the university. How have we done that? Well, we've set up two major programs. The Corporate Alliance Program for Businesses, which seeks to understand businesses' needs, the technologies that they need, the training that they might need, and find ways of bringing that together with the relevant expertise and technology that is being developed within UCL. We have done this even with the financial services industry over the last few years, and I hope to goodness that our interaction with them had no impact on the problems that business and the financial services have experienced in the last few years. Similarly, we've developed a business partnership program that targets both large multinational companies but also SMEs, and focuses specifically on supporting the main research strategies that have been defined by UCL, but seeing ways in which we can interact with business to support those major global challenges that I mentioned earlier. Here I've just given you an idea of some of the organizations with which we've interacted, and I've purposely left off this list the major interactions that we've had with the pharmaceutical industry, partly because I'll come on to that later, but also just to really show how broad our interactions are across the whole area of technology, including the arts and humanities. To now then move on to how and in what ways does our business organization, UCL Business, interact within the university and externally. I really want to emphasize the fact that, of course, as a traditional tech transfer organization, it's concerned very heavily with licensing our intellectual property, developing spin-outs, developing collaborations with other universities, managing contract research and consultancy. And all of those 5 activities are, of course, integral to developing stronger relationships with the business and corporate sector. UCL Business has an ongoing relationship with UCL. It is UCL's organization, and we partner very strongly with UCL. And what we do has to meet UCL's requirements. UCL is also simultaneously developing new relationships with the health service. We're an academic health center, and so we're developing major new relationships with major health centers, health organizations, trusts with which we're working, and we've set up a new organization, UCL Partners. Again, UCL Business will be managing the portfolio of activities generated by the health service that we're working with directly. And we have to engage and develop 2 different things. One, we have to ensure that the work of the tech transfer organization helps the university in developing its metrics, its performance indices, so that the research selectivity exercise, the next one, which is going to concern very much with impact, will essentially have a way of monitoring our performance. It also has to clearly help to develop the UK economy. And at the same time, UCL hopes that through this process, we will generate revenues that will also help to sustain the activity of the university. To put things in context, currently UCL has something in the order of 700 million a year turnover. Its research income is something in the order of 300 million. Our last, in 2008-9, our third stream activity generated something in the order of 58 million a year. So something approaching 8% of our turnover came through third stream activity. That compared with 41 million in the previous year. So our structural reorganization over the last 4 years, bringing an emphasis of enterprise within the total community, has clearly had a significant impact at a time when the economic situation in the UK was not very supportive for developing any of these business-related activities. We have been able to increase our third stream activity really quite significantly. I believe it's held up in the last year as well, although we don't have the audited figures for this current year. Giving you an overview of UCL Business's role, it is UCL's business arm, and it has 5 major activities. It has to provide services to UCL in terms of how it protects its intellectual property. It has to work to actually get our academics to understand the importance of protecting their intellectual property. So this provides a major service role for the university. Simultaneously, it also works to develop our consultancy base, which of course is really important, not simply in terms of providing major consultancy for government agencies, central government, but also in terms of supporting SMEs who require technological consultancy and support. So we have major work in those sort of areas. The next part of its activity is investment in product development, getting product development to market, investment in licensing, and investment in company creation. Now, over the last few years, I have to say company creation has been a real problem and difficulty. Venture funds have been very, very limited, and the terms of any venture funding coming into the university has also been highly restrictive and has also valued the university's IP really at a rather low level. So that over the last period, really and truly, developing small companies, notwithstanding the fact that TSB now exists, has been incredibly difficult. And we've had many companies that have sort of been in a limbo over the last few years, not really going forward because of the difficulty of them actually getting capital at the appropriate time to really develop them. Equally, we've lost a lot of very good companies, small companies that we've been developing, that we've nurtured over a period of time. With the absence of this funding, it's been really notable that several very, very interesting companies have been bought up by North American organizations. For the PI that's developed the intellectual property, who really is determined to see their invention, if you like, develop for societal benefit, well, that isn't a problem. They don't really care. But it is really quite serious for the UK economy that this opportunity, this manufacturing opportunity, has been lost. This opportunity for developing the economy in the UK has been lost. So over the last period, we've been moving from this model of seeing a spin-off, seeing the creation of a company as the goal of developing IP, to a different sort of model. And we've moved very heavily now away from simply thinking in terms of startups to really looking at ways that we can de-risk the movement of our ideas to the marketplace, get away from just thinking about building spin-ups, but really thinking of other ways in which we can really develop our research activities. So we've been developing new programs for licensing, and I'll talk about those very briefly now.